Our ASA and also the finance staff have been working really hard on the performance-based funding metrics and operationalizing that. I don't need to say more. We just had quite a bit of discussion on it. And one other thing I do want to tell you about is the Gen Ed core recommendations that came out of legislation in 2012, House Bill 1736. Those recommendations have been finalized through the committees and now are at the campuses for review by the faculty senates there. We're hoping to get any additional feedback by November 1st, and if we need to make some final tweaks, we will. We've been working with the Florida College System and the Articulation Coordinating Committee hand in glove on this, and we're coming down the home stretch on this initiative. It's been huge. I think I told you about a year ago that that this is one of those initiatives maybe that the board doesn't hear about a lot, but faculty members, everybody on campus is affected by this because it's the Gen Ed program. So it's been a massive effort, and the colleges and universities have really stepped up to the plate and put in time and effort to craft what we think are good recommendations. I would like to introduce a new staff member. Chris, would you stand up, please? This is Chris Mullen, and he has recently joined our staff as the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Policy and Research. We stole Chris, and I say that affectionately, from the American Association of Community Colleges in Washington, D.C., where he was their Director for Research and Policy for 4 years. So he comes to us with great research skills, good policy background, and we're building the research team. I'm just so delighted he's on board. He has 2 degrees from UF and 1 degree from an institution in New York, which may remain there, Columbia. And so we're really delighted he's on board.
And he's from Boca Raton, or spent some time there, right? Yep.
One thing I do want to say briefly is it's important for our staff to be current, and we have attended a number of meetings. It's sort of summer conference season between June and September, and I did want to point out that we took quite a cadre of academic and student affairs staff to the SHEO meeting, State Higher Education Executive Officers, which was held in Orlando. We had staff not just going there, but also doing presentations on the online university, participating and moderating other sessions on performance-based funding, so we were engaged. Our own chancellor also gave a very entertaining keynote dinner speech, so we were very much visible at that conference. We also had staff attending the Education Commission for the State's National Organization Forum this year, and that was really looking at issues devoted to pre-K through college at all levels and some of the transitions that we deal with. This year, there were governors in attendance, legislators and leg staff, state commissioners of education, school superintendents, state teachers of the year, the U.S. Secretary of Education, the U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services, and staff came back and told me it was one of the best conferences that ECS has had in a while. So I think it's important. And you have been so supportive of me and my staff in pursuing professional opportunities. I just wanted to update you on a couple of those things. There were a number of other things, but I think Kevin Bailey will probably be covering them in his report out to you about student affairs later on. Thank you, Governor Tripp. Any questions?
Any questions? All right, thank you. Item number 3 is approval of our committee meeting minutes, and I'd like a motion to approve the minutes from June 20, 2013 meeting. So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Item number 4 is public notice of intent to amend Board of Governors regulations. A under that, 6.002, admission of undergraduate first time in college degree-seeking freshmen. Board Regulation 6.002 provides statewide minimum admission criteria for undergraduate first-time in college degree-seeking freshmen. Amendments to this regulation involve clarifying that starting fall 2014, consideration of ACT test scores in admission decisions must be based on the ACT plus writing exam. Additionally, a technical amendment was made to the foreign language admission credit hour requirement, which would allow competency to be achieved with the successful completion of a second-level foreign language course. This change will remove the requirement for completion of the first-level course. Do we have any questions or any discussion on this? If not, I'd ask for a motion to approve public notice of intent to promulgate Board Regulation 6.002, admission of undergraduate first time in college degree-seeking freshmen.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion passes. Regulation 6.004 provides statewide minimum admission criteria for undergraduate degree-seeking transfer students. Amendments to this regulation include technical changes to allow the foreign language admission credit hour requirement to be achieved with the successful completion of a second-level foreign language course. This change will remove the requirement for completion of the first-level course. And so I would like to ask for a motion to approve public notice of intent to promulgate Board Regulation 6.004, admission of undergraduate degree-seeking transfer students. The motion?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Okay, item C. Regulation 6.008 provides direction for state universities regarding the assessment, placement, and instruction of students who fall below college-level assessment standards. The proposed amendments provide similar standards as those required by the State Board of Education for Florida college system institutions, thereby providing smooth articulation between institutions. The amendments do not lower admission standards, as admission cut scores remain the same in Board Regulation 6.002. So I would like to ask for a motion to approve public notice of intent to promulgate Board Regulation 6.008, post-secondary college-level preparatory testing, placement, and instruction for state universities.
So moved.
Second? Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 5, the FIU request for Wilsonian FIU downtown has been withdrawn, and I've been told that they will represent it again at our November meeting. Item 6. Item number 6 is an overview of the academic program approval process used to create new baccalaureate programs in the state university system and the Florida college system. I would like to remind everyone that when we took up the committee work plan at the June meeting, one of the key items was coordination of academic affairs with the Florida college systems with regard to areas of mutual interest. Within this context, I think it is important for this committee to have a better understanding of how the two systems are similar and how they differ in the new degree planning process and the different levels of authorization and review. And I'll call on Jan Ignash. Jan?
Thank you, Governor Tripp. As I start this agenda item, I would like to introduce and invite to the podium my counterpart at the Florida College System, Julie Alexander. Julie is the Vice Chancellor for Academic and Student Affairs with the Florida colleges, and we work hand in glove on so many initiatives, the Gen Ed Core, Articulation and Transfer, and also we both have in our respective offices we both deal with baccalaureate program approval. So I'm going to ask Julie to start, and I wanted this to be a discussion with the board so that we could talk about the processes we each follow and then open it up for Q&A.
To the board members, remember the thing that we've had an ongoing conversation about is the ideas that the state college system is providing more baccalaureate degree programs, and sometimes we've been in agreement with them, sometimes our universities have not been in agreement with them, and so what we're trying to do with this initial conversation is get all of us to understand where they're coming from, how they get there, where we should be coming from, where our universities should be coming from, and start the dialogue. So use this as a moment to ask any questions if you don't understand exactly some of these things that they're talking about. Thank you for coming, by the way.
Thank you very much for having me, Governor Tripp. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Julie Alexander. Thank you to Jan Ignash for inviting the Division of Florida Colleges for the Florida College System. We are really, really excited to have been invited. New College of Florida is beautiful. The campus is just gorgeous. I know that because I didn't know where the meeting was this morning and took a little trip around the campus. It's really, really pretty. And I'm really excited to hear that you're going to have a focus on collaboration and coordination with the Florida College System. I want you to know that the Florida College System relies on the state university system heavily. We are, at our core, open access at the associate degree level, and by far the biggest proportion of our enrollment is in the AA degree, the associate in arts degree, and we need you. Our students need you, and that is a key message. Even in our statute authorizing baccalaureate degrees, it says that our primary mission is open access at the associate degree level, and we take that very seriously. We have under 4% of our enrollment overall in college credit programs is at the baccalaureate level. I think that's important for you to know. When you look at a trend line, it looks like it's going straight up, but that's because if you go to 0 to 1, it's 100%. So I just wanted to kind of lay out that background. We have about 1 million students in our system. About 300,000 of them are in college credit courses. And as far as the baccalaureate program approval process is concerned, it is probably one of the heaviest legislated processes that I know of. And for the Florida College System, it starts, the process starts about 6 months before the proposal goes before the State Board of Education. And that's a legislatively required timeline. A lot of times the planning is a lot longer. And I won't go through every single step, but what I can tell you is the process starts with a letter of intent to the Chancellor of the Florida College System, Chancellor Hanna, and soon thereafter, within 10 days, we send out notice to the Chancellor of the Board of Governors office, and we send it to the President of the Independent Colleges and Universities of Florida, letting you know that the institution, the Florida College System institution, has begun talks of offering a new baccalaureate program. And then the clock starts. You, state universities, are allowed a period of time, what we believe to be a lengthy period of time, 90 days, to either offer an objection letter or an alternative proposal. We've received one alternative proposal since the statute was passed. We have received several letters of objection. Those letters of objection we take very seriously. We ensure that the college has had conversations and made every effort to collaborate with the state university. That information goes to the State Board of Education in their packet, and it is a prominent part of their decision-making process. A lot of times in the letter of objection, the state university will inform us and the college why the program is unnecessary or duplicative from their perspective. After that period of time, the Florida college system has the opportunity to submit a proposal, and we call that their initial proposal. The Division of Florida Colleges is very involved in the process. A lot of times there will be a lot of back and forth with the institution. Sometimes the chancellor will have conversations with the state university president, with the Florida college system institution president, to try and ensure that there is agreement on both sides. And after the initial proposal is submitted, we send back feedback on that proposal, and they submit a final proposal that then goes to the State Board of Education. Major components of the proposals and the letter of intents are need and demand data. A lot of institutions hire consultants to assist with the need and demand aspects of the proposal. EMSI is used, and the Department of Economic Opportunity data are used for that purpose. That is one of the primary parts of the proposal that we highly scrutinize. And another part is evidence that there has been conversation and collaboration with the local or the regional state university system institution. And so I really do encourage and want to have an open dialogue, and so I'm going to stop there and ask for questions.
Okay, good time to ask questions. We've had ongoing dialogue here about why do they do it? Is there a proper planning mechanism in place? Are they replacing the old 2+2 system, and those kind of things? And so, anybody have any initial questions you would like to make?
Have you found that it's getting better in terms of the colleges and universities working together to, by the time it actually gets to this point, that you're not getting as many letters of objection, or are there certain areas where that still appears to be a big problem?
I can tell you that that's a good question, and I can tell you that when we started delivering baccalaureates and they started going through the process, there were a lot more contentious conversations, and even at the State Board of Education, there were long discussions about whether a particular baccalaureate degree was necessary, and was it duplicative of what the state universities were already doing. But there were also, in those conversations with each new baccalaureate that was being proposed, new conversations about the Florida college system in this arena and whether it was appropriate and well planned, or if there were ways that we could better coordinate our efforts to ensure that there wasn't unnecessary duplication. I do think that it has gotten a lot smoother. We still receive letters of objection, and there are still conversations program to program at the State Board of Education about particular issues or particular programs, but most of our baccalaureate programs are in education, teacher preparation, nursing, and we have a Bachelor of Applied Science. We are very workforce driven in our baccalaureate degrees, and we look to deliver those baccalaureate degrees that have good need and demand data, that there are jobs in the region. We have about an 85% placement rate, about around a $50,000 entry-level salary for our baccalaureate degree earners. So I do think that as we are able to show those data, the conversation moves a lot more towards collaboration and insurance, that we're delivering, we're building baccalaureates that the state needs, and that we're doing it in communication with our partners in the state university system. And I can tell you that the Board of Governors Access and Attainment Committee is really a step in the right direction, and we're having those conversations, and Dr. Ignash has really navigated and collaborated in ways that I haven't seen before. So that's a long answer, but yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Jan, your part.
Yeah, okay. As we discussed yesterday at the board retreat, the board has devolved approval of baccalaureate degrees to the local boards of trustees, and so that's the process that we use. But with that said, in the office, we also look at these bachelor's degree proposed programs. We've got the Academic Coordination Project work group that looks at all new proposals, all 12, because Florida Poly is now coming, all 12 of our universities attend these quarterly meetings to review, and about 3 of them are dedicated roughly to looking at new programs, and then one of these meetings, the one coming up, will be looking at existing programs to look at low productivity areas and maybe where some things might need to, be phased down or consider some alternative. So we've got our processes, and one of the things that I've dealt with in other states where I've been chief academic officer is some sort of an informal collaborative where institutions talk to each other, and they post things ahead of time so that the conversations start. And when those relationships are good, whether it's an informal listserv or the regional collaborations where people talk to each other on a regular basis, there are few, if any, programs that ever rise to the level of disagreement that hits our office. And that's been my experience in the state of Illinois and the state of Washington, that as long as those regional collaborations are strong, people tend to work those things out. Part of the impetus, too, in this day and age is the fact that there aren't a lot of resources, extra resources. So it is not of benefit to anybody to have 2 weak programs competing with each other in a region when really one strong program will fit the bill. And so, in terms of who delivers the program, things like where's the need, who is the target student population, all of these need to, who can deliver the program, and gets graduates successfully through. All of these, I think, are talked about on a regional basis within the state. I will say this, when I asked staff to give me some data on where we were getting letters of objections, and we do receive them from time to time. And from 5 different, we've had 5 different institutions over the last 3 or 4 years that staff have logged objections. That's not 5 programs, because sometimes there are multiple programs. But in most cases, they have been worked out. In one case, I think it was USF, proposed an alternative for a St. John's River College program. So in opening up this conversation and starting this conversation, one of the things I would like us to think about is how can we continue to foster good collaborations, especially regionally, so that we don't run into these 2 disagreements, and these can be worked out before they ever rise to the level, certainly, of this board. And I will at this point commend UCF. They're the poster child for their Direct Connect program, and they have. And it's not just UCF. There are many other institutions, too, that have model good relationships with their partner institutions.
Okay, any questions of Jan?
Mr. Chairman.
You know, I'd just like to say that I appreciate your coming here. Was there
I do have a
question? Oh,
question,
I'm
but
sorry.
finish your thought.
No.
I have a question for Vice Chancellor Alexander. I think the Florida college system is perfectly placed for innovative new areas where we're headed as opposed to where we've been. And I think Governor Morton always talks about looking ahead at what are the areas of emerging technology and so on. Is the college system reviewing? I admire Florida Polytech for looking at this issue very closely and coming up with the next generation of majors. And does the college system as well look at that, particularly applied majors?
We do, and as I said, our most common baccalaureate degree is the Baccalaureate of Applied Science, and we do have what we would consider emerging areas. At the associate degree level, we have associate in science degrees, and those are added more frequently and based on the emerging markets within their region. Green energy, we're having a lot of logistics type, transportation type degrees coming on board. I think with the baccalaureate degree, one thing that I want to make clear, it's very deliberate, it's very well planned, and the process, because there are statutorily defined dates, the program offerings are not as quick to be built as the associate degrees. But on the associate degree level, we build those programs fairly quickly based on the need.
Thank you.
Maybe just as a double check, do all of the committee members know what an applied baccalaureate looks like?
They probably
Actually-
don't. Give us a quick little.
I'll give you a little quick.
Yeah.
Actually, with all of our baccalaureates, we work as a 2+2 system within our system, and students, in order to be admitted into the upper division of a baccalaureate degree, have to meet associate degree graduation requirements. So most of our students that are admitted to the upper division have an AA degree or an AS degree. The BAS degree, the Bachelor of Applied Science, most of our students, the primary pathway is an AS degree. Our most prominent, well-enrolled BAS degree is Supervision and Management, and students are in the AS degree getting the technical components in a specific career area, and then the Supervision and Management is on top of that and really can translate to a number of industries and help students have a career ladder within their job that they're in now. Most of our students are currently employed.
Thank you. We're going to have you back again. You are our feeder system in many ways. We recognize clearly that some of our universities in the state colleges in their areas have a much smoother transition than others. I think our goal is, as the state is evolving, as your system is evolving, is to make sure that we work it together, that we're partners. We recognize that many students, the access to higher education really comes from you. I don't think anybody wants to ever do away with the 2+2 system. And having these conversations and understanding that at the end of the day, it really is about the students, and we need to do everything we can to make a smooth transition for them. And so as long as I'm chair of this committee, and I hope it'll be for a while, and Jan's here, we will explore all of the ways we can to make this work better, so that at the end of the day, when people look at the state of Florida in their education system, they say, we've really done a wonderful job bringing those two departments together. And I appreciate your coming.
Thank you very much, Governor Tripp. And I have to tell you that I was really excited to come, excited to be asked to come and talk about the Florida college system. And your closing remarks, I'm so glad I have this tape recorder in my pocket. I'm going to take it back to Chancellor Hanna because that is exactly where we're at as well. And I think it's nice to hear that we need each other. And I really appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Thank you very much. Thank you. The next is item 7, Florida Institute of Oceanography update. Item is on a cooperative summer course offered by 4 state universities under the umbrella of the Florida Institute of Oceanography. The FIO maintains and operates the 2 primary research vessels of the state university system, and through its advisory board serves as a state cooperative for marine science and oceanography. I'm going to skip the rest because we're running on time. Let me just turn it over to you, and if you would introduce yourself and take it over, I would appreciate it.
I'm Courtney Hackney from the University of North Florida, and I was, I guess, the coordinator of this program. I appreciate the opportunity to tell you about something that I think you all actually started, maybe without knowing it. Some years ago, the Institute was asked to rethink its mission and to get reauthorized. And there were 11 of us appointed by the provost at our respective universities that sat down and said, what can the FIO be? For years, it had traditionally been a platform where marine scientists could get offshore and work. But we, at the institutions where maybe we didn't do as much offshore work, saw this as a real opportunity to make the resources of FIO available to more than just a small number of both scientists and students. And we built into the reauthorization as part of the framework that education would be a major component of what the FIO would be. Now, I would like to say that we got that going right away, but there was a BP oil spill and budget cuts and so forth. But we've been pursuing an idea that is unusual and different than most models. Instead of the course being run at one university, this course was going to be run at multiple universities more or less at the same time, utilizing the staff's expertise. So instead of one faculty member taking students around the state, we envisioned a group of students getting exposed to some of the best scientists in the marine system in the world. And if you haven't thought about this, there are more marine biologists, oceanographers in the state of Florida than any other state in the country. And those are the ones just that belong to the FIO. And in fact, I think there's only one country in the world that has more marine scientists than the state of Florida. So our idea was to expose students to this wide array of habitats, everything from the Keys to the North Florida estuaries, and to utilize the expertise that we have within the state, that we're already paying for. They're in our universities and our research labs. So we started this actually 3 years ago. We couldn't quite get it off the ground in 2012, but we managed to get it going this year as a pilot study, just to see how it would work, how the students would respond, and whether we could in fact do it better. You'll see there were 4 universities involved. All our students had first sign-up priority, and then all the member institutions had second, and then it was open to any students that wanted to take it. Let's see if I can get this going. We call it Study Abroad because, in effect, it is a study abroad course, the kind of courses you may have heard about where a group of students goes to France or England or some other country. Florida is not quite an exotic country, although I was told when we were in the Keys that we did need passports. But nevertheless, it is exotic in many ways. And the idea was to take students who are just beginning their biology upper-level classes and to immerse them in the field in as many different places and ideas and vessels as we could. And when I say immerse, I'm not kidding. They were up to their waist in mud and out all night in the marsh. It was an experience that I don't think all of them were prepared for, but in the end they all appreciated. And it's quite a challenge doing an intensive course where you have 15 faculty, all of which have something they want the students to know before they get there. So our first 4 days was essentially an overview of everything, team building, and we realized as we started this just wasn't going to be a course where we told students what they had to know. We did a lot of the study group getting them to start thinking critically, expressing themselves. So we were doing more than just showing them habitat. But we started this one out at the University of North Florida. We had students from 3 universities who were part of this first pilot study, and we immersed them. Our biggest concern, frankly, when we started, besides just the details I'll talk about in a minute, the difficulties, was that students would get in trouble at night because they were in exotic places. That was not a problem. They were too tired to do anything by 9 o'clock. We accomplished that real well. The second week was their first full field week, and they were at the University of South Florida, St. Pete. We had them on research vessels. They were out at night trawling. It was a new experience for these students. That is one of the things that we often forget as faculty members. Now, one might think that the highlight was going to be the Florida Keys, and in fact it was. The Florida Atlantic University, essentially they supervised this week at the Keys Marine Lab. The Keys Marine Lab is an amazing teaching facility down there near Almirada. We have access to reefs, mangroves, seagrass beds, and it's essentially tropical. We had 2 eminent scientists working with them in the field the whole time. The students kept saying at the end that they thought they were going to learn a lot, but what they didn't appreciate is how much of an understanding they were getting of the process of becoming a scientist, because they're sitting side by side and an eminent scientist on a boat headed out to sea or coming back. But this was a phenomenal experience for the students, and you couldn't ask for a better location. Sooner or later, we're going to get to the next one. There we are. University of North Florida, if you've never really thought about it, we actually belong more in a different biogeographical region. We're in the Carolinian province, and the animals that we see offshore and in the estuaries are really different than South Florida and West Florida. So we could cover everything from tropics to the temperate in effect. And we basically had them look at the estuary, freshwater to saltwater. We had the students out for 26.5 hours in the marsh watching the tide come in and out. Simple concept, you might say, but very few people have done it. One of the students at the end said that she dreaded that more than anything else in the course, but was so super excited at the end. She never thought it would be so much fun. To see the difference between a seine that brings up 20 animals in a day and then at 2 in the morning bring up 2,500 shrimp with the fish just boiling the water around us as we're seining was more than the students could ever imagine. It was just a perfect experience for them. But again, intensive, field-oriented classes. Did we have logistical problems? Yes, but not necessarily the ones that you would think of. Some of the simple things is what we spent the most time on. Lodging, food, Two of the locations did not have cafeterias, so the students had to do their own food preparation, cleanup, and I will tell you there were some surprises there. I thought that was going to be a really difficult problem for them. Turns out all the guys nowadays can cook. So it wasn't a problem at all. It was fascinating watching how the group gelled and how they shared information and how they learned from one another. That was really a fascinating thing to see, and we even think we can make it happen even better. Administratively, we had a number of interesting problems, and probably the biggest one, the most difficult one to overcome is this is a non-traditional class. The students are in that class 10 hours a day. We didn't necessarily start exactly when the semester started, when the semester ended. That made it a little tricky, but all the universities figured out how to do it. It just took a little time. The money part was most difficult, and we essentially borrowed the model from the study abroad course, where they essentially provide housing for students and meals and a number of other things. So we had to set up special accounts to do it, but it's all doable. It just took a long time the first time out. We learned a lot of lessons, as you always do, and as I mentioned, this was a pilot study. We wanted to see how it would work, what would be the best way to do it, would we do it again. Every single faculty member involved in this course said they were excited to do it again. They wanted to do it, and some who weren't necessarily excited to do it last time now are coming forward. We actually have more faculty members than we can probably use for the class. So one of the lessons learned is that everyone loved the whole thing. We got great student feedback. We told them from the beginning, we want you to tell us what you think, whether we could make it better. And again, some of the aspects of the course they were dreading, they absolutely loved. And it was the little things that tended to trip them up. The fact that they couldn't work 24 hours a day. They were overambitious in their thoughts about how much they could do. But every student that finished the class absolutely loved it. And in terms of what we would do next year, and we do plan to do this again, we plan to add a fifth location. The University of West Florida was trying to come on board last summer, and couldn't quite get it going. But that will be the final straw to make this course literally cover the entire state, from the West Panhandle down to the Keys and all the way up to North Florida. So that addition will really complete the course and allow us to cover every part of the state of Florida. I mentioned that in the very beginning, this was part of the reauthorization for the Florida Institute of Oceanography. And we think that there's more to do than just this one course. And as I said, this was kind of hard to get off the ground. But we see that this concept, the concept where the students move and not the faculty, is an interesting one. The faculty can use their expertise in their one area, and the students can go and see different locations, different places, and experience different faculty. I would bet a lot of money that you're going to see a good number of these students applying to go do graduate work with faculty at some of the universities that are a part of this project. But you should also know that the emphasis could easily be adapted to teaching education. We could take teachers on something like this, and we've even talked about something over the Christmas break, a short course or something along those lines. There are many things the Florida Institute of Oceanography and all the 21 constituents could do in the education arena. And you also should know that historically we always used one of the vessels, one of the smaller vessels, and faculty members could apply for money from FIO to use one of these vessels. And historically what they did was to take a small group of students with them and do some type of research. And that is a good educational experience too. That's still ongoing. And as long as the RV Velos doesn't sink on us, it's getting to the end of its lifespan, I think we'll be able to continue that. I hope I did that in 10 minutes.
That was really good. Any questions? Good. We're going to have you keep us updated. We really appreciate this innovation. That's what we're talking about. You're bringing various universities together, so we're not missing out on the good of all of it. We really appreciate it.
You're very welcome, and we'll have it expanded next year. And as you know, getting universities to all think the same way is not an easy task.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Item 8 is our student affairs update, and I'll call on Governor Fossey to provide us with a brief update on issues of interest to the Florida Student Association.
I appreciate it, Governor Tripp. At first, I'd like to call the Florida Gulf Coast Student Body President and the Florida Atlantic University Student Body President to the podium. Mr. Chairman, last week, students across the state of Florida paid their tuition bill and noticed one of the smallest marginal increases in tuition in recent history. And because of the partnership that everybody at this table created last year in the Aim Higher campaign, students are cognizant of the fact that our argument to invest in our institutions, essentially investing in the state of Florida's future, is strongest when everybody at this table is working cohesively in sending the same message to Tallahassee. I'd like to continue the momentum that we've picked up in this last session into the 2014 session by continuing the Aim Higher campaign. And we've been working closely with the university lobbyists and PR vice presidents to continue this Aim Higher movement. At the University of North Florida, over the past 2 weeks, we've been continuing stressing the importance of our state's involvement in our state university system. And the students at UNF and the students across the system will continue, will actually move forward in this direction if President Scobio and if they can unveil that poster that we will be doing across the system. While paying their tuition, we also had this poster set up. And we had a number of students, I don't know if you can read specifically what it says there because of the amount of signatures on there. We will hopefully have a press conference similar to the December 5th press conference of 2012 to wrap up the 2013 Aim Higher campaign and with a thank you message for investing in our schools and hopefully making Aim Higher 2.0 just as effective so that we don't see a larger tuition increase like we've seen in previous years. Again, accessibility to our institutions is first and foremost our most important priority. And my second item is in the coming weeks, the Florida Student Association will be adopting a legislative agenda. I'm hoping that it'll mirror similar to the legislative budget request that we've passed today. But we will also emphasize facilities funding, considering the PICO situation and the political climate in Tallahassee. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield the rest of my time.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for coming. We appreciate it, gentlemen.
Thank you, Presidents.
Next, I'd like to call on Dr. Kevin Bailey, Chair of the SUS Council for Student Affairs, to update the committee on activities and interests of the council as it plans for the 2013-2014 academic year. We've only got a minute, but I'm not going to hold you to that. So they didn't start me early enough. So Kevin, I'm going to give you your time.
Thank you, Governor Tripp.
Plus that, you're a lot bigger than I am.
I have 2 points I want to bring to everyone's attention. The first one is the second statewide anti-hazing summit that will occur Thursday, October 17th at UCF. This board will remember last year we held the first annual statewide summit in 2 different locations, one at UF and one at FAU, hosted by FAU and FIU jointly. And the feedback we received, we wanted to, one, create an opportunity for more people to attend the summit, and 2, get away from the National Hazing Prevention Week, which is in September. So the universities and colleges and students will do their thing in September. We will have the anti-hazing summit in October, and it is part of an existing student affairs conference that occurs. And so this will actually be a precursor or pre-conference to that existing statewide student affairs conference that we hope will draw more individuals to the summit. The keynote speaker will be Brian Smith, the assistant to the president at FAMU. We will have a series of breakout sessions and then conclude with a session that we call Best Practices Conversations. And so we want to be more intentional about using the information that people learn there and giving opportunities to have conversation and set action plans there before they go back to their respective institutions. The second item I want to bring to your attention relates to the newest matrix that we are creating. This board will remember that the Council for Student Affairs is famous for creating several matrices around alcohol strategies, around anti-hazing, around threat assessment, and our newest matrix is actually a joint matrix with the Council of Academic Vice President, CAVP, around retention strategies. And so CAVP Chair Toll and I have met about this. We've assigned a couple of our council members to work on this, and it will be in a couple of different areas that include academic programs, degree tracking and mapping, living learning communities, personal support, and programs for special populations. We are near the end of blessing, if you will, the matrix. We will then put it out to the institutions to do the boxes of what they do, and then we should be in a position by the January meeting at the latest to have a completed matrix. With that, that concludes my report.
You know, that's very helpful what you're doing, and joining in to really recognize you're right with the students. And so, you know, so appreciative of the idea that you're taking this on, because you're going to help the whole system. Mm-hmm. And probably you're the first contact with the students many times when they're in trouble. Sure. And can recognize that. So we really do appreciate it. I think you're doing a terrific job. Any questions? Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll take a motion to close.
Motion to adjourn.
Second? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much.